Well, hello and welcome back to Between the Sundays. This is a podcast, audio and video podcast, designed to continue the conversation from Sundays here at Generations Church through the rest of the week. And I'm excited today. I've got several folks with me. So today I'll start right to left. I seem like I always start that way and go, but today I've got Garret Snyder. He's our communications director, oversees our local and global missions. I have Pastor Carson Hale. He's over our youth and young adults. And Pastor Aaron White, who's our associate pastor. And so today, guys, I just want to really talk about a couple of things quickly, and for us to just kind of talk about them. But last week, we had a little bit of a different episode, which I loved. It was my dad, my brother, three of my and Corey's children, the boys, and we just talked about generational faith, which I love that. So if you didn't listen to that or watch that, I'd love for you to go back. But we didn't get a chance then to talk about Easter Sunday, which had happened the Sunday prior to that. So I'd love to just hear your thoughts. We had a great Easter weekend, I felt like, as a church for a lot of reasons, but I'd love to just hear your thoughts about Easter. I'll start with Aaron and kind of whoever wants to pipe in after that.
Definitely one of my favorite parts of the whole weekend was our Good Friday service. There's just something special about that service. It's called Come to the Table. So if you weren't there, it's a really special time, really intimate, reflective time. Not like down and sad and depressed,
Right.
but just reflecting on the moment and reflecting on the week and what's leading up to Easter.
Right.
And so we had multiple speakers, myself, Pastor Carson, Pastor Madeline, Pastor Jeremy, of course, too, as well. Just kind of reflect on different stories leading up to, Jesus' crucifixion.
Yeah.
And so I love that night, the feeling in the room there, and just reflecting on that. But then also what was great for me is, and kind of crazy to me, it was mind-blowing to me, is the first 5 people that I talked to were first-time guests.
Yeah, for Good Friday.
For Good Friday.
Right.
And so I was like expecting that on Easter, but to see people that saw us on Cherokee Connect, that, that are friends of people within Generations Church, attend Good Friday service, that was just awesome to see as well. So met a ton of people over the weekend from our sunrise service. So it was just a great weekend.
Don't let me forget to come back to the Cherokee Connect and even visitors. I want to come back to that in a second. But for you guys, what maybe Easter weekend, what were some of your big takeaways and thoughts from that weekend?
So I also loved Good Friday, but since Aaron went there, I'll go somewhere else. I just want a quick plug. Madeline spoke on Good Friday. Yeah. Our kids' pastor, if you guys didn't know, she did an incredible job. I know she's my wife, but I love when she speaks. She's so nervous when she does it. Yeah. It's just it's incredible every time. Anyway,
I told her yesterday, we were meeting yesterday with Pastor Aaron, and I told her yesterday, I was like, you always not dread it. That sounds too ominous, but you're always so nervous.
Let me tell you.
I don't know if I can do it. But she always does an amazing job. Yeah. She's an incredible teacher in general.
We're driving on the way, and she's like, I don't think I'm going to do it. I'm like, well, we're going to do it though, right?
Every time she gets off the stage, everybody's like, you're an incredible. Every time I had to, I'm glad I go before it. So Pastor Carson had to follow her.
Yeah. And he did great as well. But just because he brought it up, it was so funny. I told her yesterday, I was like, you're such a great teacher.
Yeah.
But it was a fantastic night, and all of the speakers did great.
My life is a testament of trying to get me to talk less and her to talk more. It's a challenge, but it's beautiful for everyone involved. Just my favorite thing besides Good Friday would be the sunrise service that we did. Yeah. We didn't do one last year, so we did one this year. Was that y'all's first one? I haven't been here that long.
Yeah, it was
okay, it's the first one here. And there's just something about a sunrise on Easter morning. It didn't heat up the day, that's for sure. It was freezing.
Right. Yeah.
But the amount of people were there and the momentum and a few people staying for both services, but just being there, worship outside, even in the cold and dew and wet, you could just feel something stirring as it happens on Easter. I think the last 3 years at least, it's been supposed to rain on Easter, and it didn't. And I just I always take that as a sign from guys it's Easter morning, baby.
Right.
Come on, Sundays
it set the tone for the day. I agree. Yeah, so sunrise was a really powerful time. Garret, what about you?
Yeah, well, my first choice is Good Friday. My second choice is sunrise. So,
what about the regular Easter services?
The weekend as a whole was great. There's something about just Easter Sunday morning services. I don't know if it's everybody kind of just being in their Sunday best and their Easter outfits and families just being there as a whole. It's just a ton of fun just to see the joy that's in the lobby. A lot of it comes from the way that we set up the weekend, the story, the reflection of the cross, and then the good news that he has risen. People are just in really great spirits. And again, just seeing the families that have been here for so long and have been with us on this journey, but just so many new faces that we saw people that we got to meet that are part of this community that just want to be here and love what God's doing through this church. And it was great. It's just a really wholesome feeling weekend. It was a lot of fun. But
Well, and I think, I shared this past Sunday, but numbers don't tell the whole story, but they do tell a part of the story.
Mhm.
Like there were just a lot of people here,
Mhm.
and for pastors, that's not the case at every church. Like we hear some of the those stories and pastors that celebrate that online, and we did that as well. But
Mhm.
a lot of churches that may not be the reality for them. But it is exciting when you have a fuller room and you have a lot of people maybe you don't get to see as regularly,
Yeah.
or I loved meeting so many like friends and family members that are like, this
Mhm.
is my neighbor,
yeah,
and they
Yeah.
agreed
yeah,
to come today. You
Mhm.
said Good Friday, like the first 5 people that walked in, I met a couple who like they were there for the first time on Good Friday because they stood next to one of our church attenders in a voting line a few
yeah,
months before, and then they came back on Easter. They came back this past Sunday. But
Mhm.
I loved the fact that 24 people, accepted Christ on
Yeah.
Easter Sunday, and I think that was incredible.
That was awesome.
But going back, I want to circle back because I loved Easter. I loved
Mhm.
the weekend. It was a powerful, powerful time. I think every service, the Good Friday sunrise, the services indoors, like they were just amazing services. But I did love that it really started, and I'm kind of putting 2 Sundays together here, but last Sunday and this Sunday specifically, I've met so many new people.
yeah,
Mhm.
Maybe their first time, or maybe they've been coming for 2 or 3 or 4 months,
Yeah.
but like they haven't really like leaned in yet. They've kind of
Mhm.
been around the edges, and they came to our event Salsa with the Staff, which maybe we can talk about in a second. But when you ask them, how did you hear about our church? It usually is through some connection with our, like a
Mhm.
friend invited me, or I saw a post on Cherokee Connect. That's a local
Yeah.
Facebook group for those that may not be familiar with that. But I was looking yesterday, there was a post where somebody asked for a church recommendation.
Mhm.
There were 217 comments, and 17 of them were for
yeah,
Generations
Yeah.
Church. Like I just thought that was incredible that people
Mhm.
from our church just jumped on and said, "Hey, you need to come check our church out." But even beyond that, like just listening to people invite their
mhm,
friends
Yeah.
and bring people to church, like that's an exciting thing. That's a
Mhm.
huge ask. Like if you start thinking about what it really takes to invite somebody to church, like that's a big ask.
Yeah.
But the fact that people are doing that, and we continue to see more and more and more guests show up to church at the invitation of someone else, or
Mhm.
because someone promoted it online or shared a post and said, "Hey, you need to come."
Mhm.
I just think that's a really powerful thing.
Yeah.
We met this past Sunday. We had salsa with the staff. We'll come back and talk about like our series, but we had salsa with the staff, which is our connections event. I'll let you talk
Mhm.
about that for a second. But
Yeah.
man, we had a ton of
yeah.
people that just showed up, and
Mhm.
to hear their stories was a powerful thing.
Mhm.
Why do we do that? What is
Yeah,
the win of
salsa
that?
with the staff. The purpose of it is, like you were saying, we have a lot of people that are in or around our church that have been visiting, over the past 4, 5, 6 months, and they get to meet, you in the lobby and shake your hand as they leave, or they get to meet one of the staff. They may get to know one elder, or they trying to figure out who the elders might be. But it really is an opportunity for them to come together with us, to meet us, to get to know us better,
Yeah.
to hear our heart and vision, very quickly. It's, not this long drawn out thing, but then also just to connect with us,
Yeah.
and to hear our heart for them, how they can take next steps, which we're going to talk about in a minute, but how they can get more plugged in, get better connected, by going through Discover Track and all these different ways. But really an opportunity
Yeah.
to meet us and to hear our heart.
Well, and it's quick conversations. I mean, we
Mhm.
were all kind of working around the room quickly, and so it's 2 and 3 and 4 minute conversations. But as we do that across 6, 7, 8 people that are, they're kind of leading in those moments, like it does give us a chance. And so we celebrated that even yesterday in our
Yeah.
staff meeting. These stories of people that we met and heard, and I heard their stories. I just think that's a really powerful thing to, sometimes, and maybe I'm working through something today. I don't know, but like sometimes, you think about church as like just this group of people, but like people are being added to that group all the time. I
Mhm.
love, actually in 3,000 were added to their number
Mhm.
daily, like those that were being saved. Like there is this idea of on this spiritual journey, like people are coming in. And I love that newness aspect. That doesn't take away from anybody that's already here, but I want us to constantly keep a heart towards and an eye towards those who aren't here yet, those who are
Yeah.
walking in for the first time, and how do we help them decide if this is a place for them.
Mhm.
And we talk about a lot. There's great churches. I mean, there were 217 comments on that one post.
Yeah.
We were 17 of them. That means there's other churches, and I know a lot of their pastors, and we say from the stage, sometimes people say like, quit saying that, but I believe it. Like, if this is not the place for you, we want to help you
Yeah.
find another
Yeah.
church. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want you just to kind of flounder out there. Like, I want to help you get connected to a church. But man, it's such a powerful thing when somebody's like coming to visit for the first time to say like, is this a place I can thrive?
Yeah.
Which go ahead.
And when they come in the door, that's first time guests and second, like,
Yeah.
that's scary.
Yeah.
It's just like, where do I sit? Like, what is this church? What is this church about? And then if you're there 1 or 2, 3 times, you're like, okay, like, how do I get connected? How do I hear more?
Yeah.
And it's also a staff, Discovery Track. Those are just incredible times to just get connected, to plug in,
Yeah.
and to get to know us, and for us to get to know them.
That's right.
Because a lot of times on Sunday morning, you have 200-300, people in the building, whatever that is on Sunday morning. And so you're talking to so many different people. So you don't know who's a first time guest, second time guest a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so that's a great opportunity for us to just get to know them.
Yeah.
And to build relationships for youth to meet Pastor Carson, and for Pastor Carson to be like, oh, I've seen that family once or twice, or for Pastor Madeline, or any of us to get to know them as well. So
that was a cool thing, even in the Salsa with the Staff this week. I mean, there were half dozen like just teenagers maybe that were in the room with their parents or with family or whatever, like just to get to connect to them. Some of them first time guests. Some of them have been coming for several months even. But
the first time guests that it was their first Sunday there, and they're like, we're gonna go up there and meet these people. I was like, you guys have so much more courage than me.
Yeah.
I think another like really big benefit to that is not only like us getting to meet them, but just the connections we got to make to people that were there.
Yeah.
I think we have, 3 families that had just moved here from
Wisconsin. It's like they're migrating south. Or
so
whatever.
it's kind of like, it's like we get to know them, they get to know us, but we get to immediately connect them to people that are kind of in a similar kind of either
one of the
place in
couples was
life
standing there, and one of our elders had been talking to this new couple, and Corey and I stepped over and we were talking to them, and they said something about moving from Wisconsin, and the other couple like immediately turned. They were like, "Wisconsin? We just moved from Wisconsin in the fall, And there was several of those where we were able just to connect one another. I love that. Yeah, we're gonna have Generations Church Milwaukee.
So people don't have to
That's right.
move.
That's right. That's right. I think it kind of goes back to a little bit of what we started this past Sunday in a new series that we called "What's Next," and there is this idea that sometimes, like, once you've entered into church, entered into faith, and I use those a little bit interchangeably, but for a purpose, that like once you kind of get the big ideas, that you're done. Like then you just kind of stay in that. But we believe that there are always next steps that we should be taking. Like, we should constantly be exploring. I showed a little clip from one of my favorite TV shows, but he said like the timeline of humanity is the whatever it is, the idea it's on human exploration. Like, we never want to be settlers. We want to constantly be explorers.
Yeah.
And we talked about that Sunday with just knowing God and how to know him in a deeper way. Just maybe, Carson, for you from Sunday, like, where did that message land with you? What were your biggest takeaways from the day, and how do you think it connected to our people?
Yeah. I mean, there's just like the depths of like who God is and like the Bible, like honestly, he's always bringing you closer to his heart, but it's so much deeper than you realize. And I've never met anyone who's like, yeah, I did it.
Yeah,
I figured out
I
God.
got it.
You know what I mean? Because if you can figure out God, like, you can be God. You know what I'm saying? So it's like one of my favorite quotes from Beth Moore is like, I always thought when I got older I'd cross a finish line. She's like, but I just realized like there's always so much more of God that you can explore.
That's right.
And so I mean, just that idea, like anyone can take a next step, whether it's just like, I've never opened the Bible too. I've been following him for 50, 60, 70 years. There's that much more of God and a step that he has for you. I thought that was really powerful. And it's also just like such a good reminder, because oftentimes you're just like, all right, I'm going to go to church on Sunday again. I'm going to hit the box. We're going to show up. We're going to worship. I'm going to go about my day. But it's just that reminder of like, man, he wants to know you while you're eating cereal on Tuesday morning and trying to get your 3 kids in the car, And it's just like, he's there too.
Yeah.
And not just like when we worship him actively in praise on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was a good reminder.
That's good. Well, I'm excited about this series. We've got 2 more weeks, and just to look at those ideas of like how to connect in next steps through our local church. I mean, a lot of these are similar to things you could do at any church, but what it looks like in our context, like what we're passionate about and how we want to help resource and equip people, to take those steps. One of the things that we do is we have a heart for our community. And so, Garret, one of your responsibilities is our local and global, missions efforts. And one of the things that we're doing in the next few weeks is our next Red Cross blood drive.
Mhm.
And that may not sound like a spiritual next step, perhaps, but it is like, hey, we're taking a step outside of the church and then kind of back into the church because we're hosting it, but like outside of the church to serve the community and then meet the needs of the community.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about why we do that and like what that looks like for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a partnership with the Red Cross. This will be our third one that we've done since we've kind of expanded into the space, the new worship center and lobby. But they come and we tear down the lobby and they kind of set up all the beds and the sign-in check-in area, the snack station, and from 2 to 7, we just kind of open our doors to people within the church that want to donate blood. But we see, a lot of times a third or even half of those donors sometimes are coming into our church that aren't members or have never stepped foot through the doors. And it's just a great opportunity, one, just to open our doors and to let people kind of experience what is here. But then twofold, it's an opportunity for people within the church to get to serve.
Yeah.
We have a handful of serving spots throughout the day that we can kind of assign people to. And those folks usually jump on that pretty quick. And it's just a really easy way to connect with the community, but then also just kind of do some good and donate and kind of give back. So it's May 4th, not next Thursday, Thursday, May 4th, from 2 to 7. And
they can register on the website.
You can register through the Red Cross, or you can go
give.
to our to our website to volunteer.
I've already registered to give.
I did. I saw super blood,
Power Red or
Power
whatever.
Red or whatever it is,
anything I'm gonna do.
He
never does anything standard.
I'm just gonna do it. I love that. I love that over the next few weeks we're gonna open our doors to hundreds of families for banquets and awards ceremonies and things. We believe that's good stewardship of our facility, that it's not just going to sit empty all week long and then we meet on Sundays, but like we're going to utilize it to serve people and to give them an opportunity to come in. And so I'm thankful for that. But I'm thankful for you guys, thankful for our team. We're in a season where God has done some amazing things over the last few weeks and months. And we're believing for even greater things to come. And so I'm excited. And until next time, we'll see you next time on Between the Sundays. God bless.